Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Bring you our college football week 2 preview between the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Michigan Wolverines. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with Notre Dame.
When you look at Notre Dame in this ball game, they had an impressive debut versus Temple last week, and this is a tougher challenge this time around versus the Michigan Wolverines. And in order to have some success on offense, they're going to have to continue to spread the football field. When you look at the way they utilize their formations, that helps loosen up that pressure because it forces the defense to adjust. Now, on the defensive side of the football, their perimeter defense is going to have to be excellent this week. They're going to have to make sure they keep contained. They can't allow Devin Gardner to get outside the pocket. They can't allow those outstanding running backs of Michigan to get outside on the edge. Otherwise, it could be a long day for Notre Dame. Now let's move over to Michigan in this ball game. The Wolverines' team speed was impressive last week as they took care of business versus Central Michigan. And versus Notre Dame, they're going to have to utilize that speed versus the power and strength of that Notre Dame defense. And when we look at quarterback Devin Gardner, he has to become more of a consistent passer in order for this offense to continue to take the next step and become a more dangerous offensive attack throughout the course of the season. And I also love what I saw last week from the Wolverines defensively. I think their front seven has a chance to be dominant, and this is a game where they can really pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. Look for Michigan's defense to play a huge role in the outcome of this ball game. The X factor in this ball game for Notre Dame will be the ground game. They're going to have to move the football on the ground versus Michigan in order to have some success. And I think Amir Carlisle can be the back to do it. He has that breakaway element in both the running game as well as a receiver coming out of the backfield. The X factor for the Wolverines in this matchup will be their interior offensive line. Notre Dame has two outstanding defensive linemen in Stephon Tuitt and Louis Nix III. If they can keep the interior pocket clean for Gardner, he can have some success hitting big plays deep down the field. Now, here are some coaching points for both teams in this matchup. For Notre Dame, you want to force Devin Gardner to throw into zones. That way you can make some plays on the football, make him sit back and read the defense, and that way you can tee off on him also in the pocket. And you want to play with control, aggressiveness. You want to get after the quarterback, but you also don't want to lose contain versus a guy that can really break contain and take it to the house. And TJ Jones versus Raymond Taylor, the outstanding cornerback for Michigan, that's going to be the matchup you're going to have to watch all game long. Jones is going to have to win that battle more often than not. And for the Wolverines in this matchup, you want to send extra at Tommy Rees. He wasn't challenged last week versus Temple. This is a different animal. These guys can really get after it, so you're going to have to send extra at Rees and force some errant passes. And the running backs versus the linebackers of Notre Dame in the passing game, I think Michigan definitely has an advantage with the athleticism of their backs. I think they can do a great job in space. And you want to move the pocket for Gardner. Notre Dame will love to bring that downward pressure, move the pocket, give him different launch pad spots, and they can have a chance. Now, here are some 2014 draft prospects you want to watch for in this ball game. You can see a litany of players on both sides that have pro potential. Stephon Tuitt, Louis Nix, those are some outstanding defensive linemen. And in the secondary, you see Bennett Jackson, keep an eye on him, very sound corner. And on that offensive line for Notre Dame, Zach Martin, Chris Watt, very good technicians. And when you look at TJ Jones, a wide receiver, very solid in what he brings to the table, and two linebackers in Prince Shimbo and Ishaq Williams. Ishaq Williams definitely has higher potential than Prince Shimbo, but keep an eye on both guys. Now, for Michigan, one of the best tackle prospects in the country, and Taylor Lewan, 6'8", 310 pounds. Devin Gardner is a guy that many compare to Ryan Tannehill, so he has some potential. And when we look in the secondary, you see Raymond Taylor. We talked about him before. Jeremy Gallen is a guy that does a great job after the catch. And keep an eye on the junior linebacker, Desmond Morgan. Big fan of what he brings to the table. One of the best dual threats we've seen at the college football level was Tony Rice. This is a guy that led Notre Dame to a national championship in 1988 and nearly led them to one in 1989. Compiled a 31-4 record as a starter and finished his Notre Dame career as an All-American in 1989, as well as totaling 5,000 yards of total offense and 36 touchdowns, and also brought home the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award for being the top quarterback in college football that season. Anthony Carter was a big play waiting to happen for the Michigan Wolverines. Here's a player that averaged 19 yards a catch for his career, 33 receiving touchdowns, and was a 3-time All-American. Also was named Big Ten MVP in 1982. I like Notre Dame in this matchup. Both teams, in my opinion, have very good defenses and will do a great job in keeping both offenses in check. Where the X factor lies, in my opinion, will be the passing game. And I can trust Tymon Reese more than I can trust Devin Gardner making plays consistently through the air. I think that's going to be the edge. And I look for the Fighting Irish to go on the road and knock off the Wolverines.